It's Saturday. You know what that means. That means you're watching our return episode of Respect the Ring, our first episode of 2021 and our first episode in quite a long time. Yeah. I know you guys have missed us. I know Aaron's noted the boys are back. We are finally back. It has been a long time coming, believe you me, and man, have I missed you guys so much. But today's show, it's a little bit of a different one. Like I promised, it is a Research the Ring special. See, we've got a lot of people piling in already, all between Facebook, all between YouTube, all between Twitch. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Niall, what's going on? Man, I missed you so much. I missed all you guys so much. But we are live today on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. So everything is going to be covered today, all three platforms. And today we are doing a Research the Ring special. We're going to be covering Wrestle Kingdom 15 for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I'm going to be going through everything, the storylines, the wrestlers, the matches themselves, and I'll give you a little bit of an inside view on what's going on with the matches and how we can kind of accurately portray them. But before we even get started, I clearly owe you guys a little bit of an explanation now, don't I? As you can probably see, not exactly in gimmick here. I don't have the hoodie on. I don't have the beanie on. There's a reason for that. I'm going to peel the curtain back a little bit and kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight as to why we've had a little bit of a hiatus, if you will. I'm sure we've gotten a lot, and I mean a lot of messages asking, where we've been, if everything's okay, or, are we stopping the show, or when are we coming back? And believe me, the support has been very, 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 very outgoing, and I couldn't tell you how much we absolutely, I'm even getting choked up speaking about it. So I'll peel the curtain back a little bit into what happened. I'm not going to reveal too much into it out of respect for privacy, but a good chunk of it was kind of my end. To kind of put it out there, about a week-ish ago, I had a bit of a medical emergency, and I was rendered incapacitated for a bit, unfortunately. It wasn't COVID. I did not have COVID. I want to put that out there for sure. It wasn't COVID, but it rendered me unable to do the show for about a week, and I was super weak and unable to move for a bit. But I am back now. I'm not totally 100%, but I am back. I want to make sure that the shows are covered, and we are going to be covered for a while. But I also want to give a bit of a retrospective as to what's going to be going on for Respect the Ring, not even for 2021, but beyond, and kind of recap a little bit of what's going on for 2020. I mean, we'll be honest, 2020, I'm sure everyone knows, has been a wash for almost all of us. Gabriel Lama saying second. Dude, you could totally be second. You should have been first, but Aaron took your spot. But yeah, I'm speaking not as the wrestling professor right now. I'm going to be speaking as myself, Andrew Samaroo. 2020, I'm sure as we all kind of categorized it as a loss for a lot of us. The world came to a screeching halt. Everyone got sick. There's a pandemic going along. Businesses are suffering. People are suffering. Who knows what's going to happen to us coming on for 2021 and beyond. And I know, with the new year going on, there's no magical hope, if you will, that, the end might be in sight, But there is one thing that I did want to point out that kind of speaks volumes to me. It's that not only us as people or us as a community, but us as a world, as a species. I've noticed that, even though we bicker, we complain, we fight, what have you, when it came to this one pandemic, I mean, for the most part, we were all under one page. We all stuck together, some of us a little bit more different than others. But when it came to the danger of the world, we all stuck together, and we all we all banded together in order to kind of combat this disease, if you will. And whether it goes away for a while or if it stays for a while, that it is what it is. But I mean, it speaks to us because I've known close friends and I know family members who've lost people to this terrible disease. And I myself, once upon a time, was affected by it. But we recover, we fight. The losses are never going to be we're never going to be recovered totally. But at the end of the day, we're all human. We're all banded together, and hopefully, despite the mess that is 2020, hopefully we can turn 2021 into something that, going forward, we can provide us an escape to all the mess that's happened in reality. And that's kind of what Respect the Ring has always been predicated on. I mean, I know we always joke around. We've turned this into like a wrestling site where we all do wrestling watch-alongs and we crack each other up. And, I crack with you guys, the audience. You guys dish it back at me all the time, and I'm totally grateful for that. Believe you me, I love it within every fiber of my being. But that's always been what this has been about. It hasn't been just wrestling. It hasn't been, we watch wrestling shows, but we're more than willing to talk about things like football, like actors, celebrities, NBA, if you will, soccer, or football for the UK fans. World events that are happening, anything you guys want to point out, politics, if you will. We're probably not going to get too much into politics because I know that's always like a dumpster fire when it comes to discussions. But the point being is that we've always made this ground to be our safe zone from everything that reality has been pressuring us with. And I know it's caused so much of mental stress for everyone, myself included. It's grinded. It's grinded, everyone. But if there's a little bit of an escape that we can provide to you here at any cost, that's all I can hope for. That's all I can hope for as a host. And if I can put a smile on your faces through my wacky antics, whether it's wrestling, whether it's not wrestling, I'm there for you guys. And for that end, I want to be the first to formally apologize for letting you guys down, for not being there for you guys when I wasn't able to do these shows. And consider this my way of making up to you. And I'll try my best to do that. But, that being said, like I said, I'm not at exactly a gimmick right now, but I do happen to have the hoodie here with me. So, if you guys wouldn't mind, I think it's about time I should get into gimmick, right? I should probably put this on. I don't know about you guys, but that feels a little better, doesn't it? All right. Wrestling Professor is back in action and ready to rock. Welcome to the Respect the Ring special, Research the Ring, where we are covering New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 15, showing January 4th. I will have to get the times up for you guys. But we are here, ready to go. Gabriel Lamas, thank you so much for the congratulations on the 42 subscribers, man. That really means a lot to us. Believe you me, all of those subscribes, all of those likes, all of those follows, all of those shares, all of those notification clicks, they add up and they help the channel going forward. So if you can, please, 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 please like, share, subscribe, follow, click those notifications, share to all your friends, whether they're wrestling, non-wrestling, your dog, your cat, your pets, whatever you have. Share it to them and make sure they like it, because in the end, it definitely does help. My Spider-Man hat is not exactly 100% here. I hope you guys forgive me for that. There he is, Wrestling Professor, ready to rock, my man. Hyson, what's going on, buddy? Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome. Clinton, the local neighborhood web slinger, is here. Yeah, I don't have the black hoodie right now. It's currently being washed, but no, this also counts. Spider-Man's my favorite hoodie, right? With great power comes great responsibility and all that. But like I said, I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. I just want to say thank you for letting me get that off my chest, because that was something that was holding on for a while, and I've been meaning to get that for you guys. Aaron saying, I'm here to fact check his New Japan mark, although I have not watched the Road to Tokyo and Dorm tour. Don't worry about it, buddy. I'll be able to cover as much as I can about it. The way this is going to show, Lombardi saying, when the wrestling professor speaks, the world listens. 2021 is made to respect the ring. Believe you me, we're not going anywhere. I'm going to be doing my best to cover everything from Wrestle Kingdom Nights 1 and 2, as well as the cards itself for everything. So you're not going to miss anything. I'm going to do what this special does is that we take the stories, the wrestlers, the matches themselves, and a little bit of an analytical view, if you will. So we're going to be covering everything in one shot. That way, if you've missed out on a couple of shows, you're not going to really miss out on the whole overall thing. If you've never seen New Japan Pro Wrestling before, this probably is your best chance to jump in. Wrestle Kingdom has always been said to be not just New Japan Pro Wrestling's biggest event, although it really is. Not only just Japan's biggest event, it kind of is, but it's one of wrestling's big events. So most of, if not all of the wrestling world, you would think WrestleMania. A lot of people will watch WrestleMania and think, okay, that is the wrestling event. And yeah, justifiably it is. But Wrestle Kingdom is kind of one of the big, in this case right now, I would say the big two, maybe the big three, depending on how you want to view, Triple Mania. AEW doesn't really have a full event yet, but those two or those three events itself, the wrestling world turns its head and makes sure to pay attention. So this is the big thing that, you do want to pay attention with. Now, before I do get into the card, it does go without saying I'm recording this or mentioning this right now as of January 2nd, 2021. At my end, at least, it's 3:13 p.m. I don't know what the time zones is for everyone. And I'm well aware at this point that the Tokyo government has kind of requested Japan's national government to kind of put the country in a state of emergency, which may put a little bit of a, pause back on what's going on. So the fate of Wrestle Kingdom may very well be in jeopardy as a result of it. Perfect chance, as Marjorie mentions. Hey, Marjorie. I hope they don't cancel the Tokyo tour with COVID numbers getting bad again. So as I'm saying this right now, it is, January 2nd, 3:13 p.m. We don't know exactly if the card might be canceled as a result. There may be a chance they may just do it behind a closed set. I know that, the tickets have been sold. Wrestle Kingdom in itself has kind of been compromised because what should have been a massive show as of last year was 70,000. Now I believe it's about 12 to 13K worth of ticket sales. Most of the tickets come up as a result of a walk-in, which, Wrestle Kingdom does get its fans via a walk-in. It may be a little bit compromised right now. So we don't know what's going on right now. It could happen as early as tomorrow. So that you're going to want to keep your eye on. Keep checking your wrestling news. If we hear anything, we're always going to shoot it back at you, but we'll make sure to let you know. Also of note, we are here at Respect the Ring going to be covering Wrestle Kingdom live, which means we're going to be up in the AM hours doing that. So keep track of your time zones. I'm going to set up notifications for the show itself. So when you see the notifications, you're going to know when Wrestle Kingdom goes live. So be sure to tune in for us as well, because we're going to be covering both nights of Wrestle Kingdom live, and I believe we're going to be doing New Year's Dash as well. So that's 3 shows in the AM. Don't you love it? Niall saying, I feel like Double or Nothing or All Out will be considered AEW's WrestleMania, their biggest pay-per-view of the year. I could be wrong, though. It's hard to say. I'm not 100% sure. I could say All Out might be, or Double or Nothing might be, because it seems a lot of the programming or marketing seems to kind of highlight around Double or Nothing, like the 3 AEW games are highlighted around Double or Nothing. So that might be their big WrestleMania, if you will. But that being said, guys, I know you guys came for the Wrestle Kingdom review. Let's get to it, all right? So night one. The reason why the card itself is split up into 2 nights is because recently New Japan Pro Wrestling has done the double night for the Tokyo Dome. I believe it started last year, I believe, with the Double Go Dash, and we're continuing the tradition for this Wrestle Kingdom as well. So January 4th and January 5th. Those are the 2 nights right now for Wrestle Kingdom, and this is the night 1 card. So that being said, the first match on the card. Well, first of all, it's technically a pre-show. We don't know if it's going to be on the card itself or it's going to be on the live feed. As far as I'm aware right now, it might be something that the live viewers get to watch, but that might change because of the implications of this particular match. So I have it listed as match 0 for now. It's the New Japan Rumble, what should have been the annual New Japan Rumble, where the final 4 are going to compete for the provisional KOPW 2021 trophy on night 2. Now, this match is a little bit different. Last year, we did not exactly get this match. Rather, we got the Stardom exhibition match, which wasn't presented on the live feed. This match might have a little bit more implications that might result on it showing up on the live feed, or at least on the pre-show. We don't exactly know who's going to be in this Rumble. This is kind of the equivalent of the everyone get in the water's kind of warm pool match, if you will. It's a 22-man Rumble where you could be eliminated by pinfall, by submission, or being tossed over the top rope. Right now, as I would imagine, since this is a redo of the KOPW trophy, which started last year when Kazuchika Okada basically got bored and decided I'm going to do something else other than chase after the main titles. And I kid you not, that's pretty much exactly what happened. He started a whole press conference and decided that this is going to happen. For those of you who don't know what KOPW is basically a trophy, if you will. It's designed around specific gimmick matches that wrestlers propose and the fans vote on. So it could range from anything. Could be as far as a 1-on-3 handicap match, or a tables match, or a ladder match, or a take off the turnbuckle corners first match, or a body slam challenge, if you will. Martin mentioning his career in the Wrestle Kingdom will still go on. It's not confirmed yet. I did mention it a little bit earlier in the show. As of now, the Tokyo government has requested the Japanese national government that it's put in the state of emergency, but it hasn't been any news on how it's going to affect Wrestle Kingdom yet. So that's something that's developing. You're going to want to keep a track out on that one. So KOPW, it's really a provisional trophy, if you will. It's kind of like a Diet Coke trophy. Yano Toru won the KOPW 2020. The way it works is that you have a match. In this case, it's going to be this particular match that starts it off, where if you win the trophy, you're not exactly the KOPW winner. Rather, you're the provisional holder. That title will carry on till the end of the year. Most notably, it's probably going to end up going towards the Road to Tokyo Dome shows. Now, throughout that entire year, you're going to be defending that trophy. So you're still the provisional champion until that end of the year. Once you get to the end of the year and you're still holding the trophy, you are then declared the KOPW for that particular year. So, that being said, this match in particular, the final 4 that remain in this particular battle royale are going to go on to night 2. And in night 2, once that match happens, it's going to be a fatal 4-way. The winner of that is going to be the provisional KOPW champion. And like I said, for this one, it's a 22-man match. We don't know who's going to be in it, though I suspect people who aren't necessarily on the cards right now is probably going to be in it. So you're going to see probably Minoru Suzuki, Hiroki Goto, Tomohiro Ishii, Sho, Yoshihashi, just to name a few, Bad Luck Fale. Just to name a few. I'm sure Yano Toru is probably going to be in it as well to continue to try to reaccumulate the trophy and do it all over again. So at least that we have an idea of like 7 people that are probably going to be in it. And obviously this match might be a little compromised because of the COVID pandemic, so we don't know exactly how it might be handled. Obviously, you can't have 22 men in the ring at the same time. That is a health hazard, and I'm pretty sure you can't exactly social distance people in the ring. So, that being said, I'm pretty sure they're going to book around it. We're going to figure out how it's going to work out. As to who's probably going to win, it's hard to say because you can't really guess who's in the match. I'm willing to bet Yano Toru is probably going to be one of the four. Maybe Minoru Suzuki, but I can't exactly pick a winner for this match, specifically because of the implications that we don't know who is in the match itself. That being said, it's going to be a match to look out for, most likely. I'm suggesting it's probably going to happen on the pre-show. It's no guarantee if it's going to actually show. So if you're going to watch Wrestle Kingdom, try to tune in a little bit early on just so you can get to see this match. Martin saying, if it's canceled, I'm hoping it is announced like 30 minutes, an hour before, so I can plan on what time I'm sleeping. No, they're most likely going to put out a press release beforehand, so you'll have an idea on if the show is canceled. Though I doubt it's going to be canceled, to be honest. I think it'll go on, but it might just result in like closed sets or something like that. That's going to move us into match 1. And this match was confirmed to be the first match on the card as a result of the press conference for Wrestle Kingdom, which Hiromu Takahashi specifically asked, what position on the card he's in, and he said night 1, card 1. So Hiromu Takahashi, the Best of Super Juniors 27 winner, versus El Fantasmo, the Super J Cup winner. Now this match has a little bit of implications, if you will, where the winner goes on to face Taiji Ishimori, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, on night 2. So this one is going to be a little bit of an interesting card. Now, a little bit of a background for this particular match. We know that New Japan always has 2 different junior heavyweight tournaments. The Best of the Super Juniors, which is the annual tournament that goes on. Think of it like the G1 Climax for the junior heavyweights. And we also have the Super J Cup, a tournament that was created by Jushin Thunder Liger way back when, in around 93 or 94. It's not as consistent, but lately it's starting to be consistent. Now, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, things were a little bit shifted. Best of Super Juniors normally gets held in May, but it's been compromised and moved into December. It was kind of retconned into December because of COVID. Super J Cup was postponed not specifically because of COVID, but rather because the Olympics was supposed to be scheduled for 2020 in Tokyo, but it said it was pushed over to December. The Super J Cup was pushed into December, excuse me. And it was held in the U.S. as a result for the second straight year. First time in a long time. I believe 2003, 2004 was when they had back-to-back consecutive tournaments. I digress. Best of Super Juniors, Hiromu Takahashi, as we know, won that tournament. His second straight, not the second straight in the tournament, because he did win 2018, but he missed 2019 due to injury. So this is his second straight that he's competed in, that he has won. El Fantasmo, as we know, the first person in a while, if ever, to win a second straight Super J Cup. So we both have 2-time winners for both this particular accolade. Hiromu, as we know, was the prior IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion before losing it to Taiji Ishimori, who beat him in the summer for the title. Meanwhile, El Fantasmo is looking to make his first New Japan appearance since the COVID shutdown, if you will. So there's a lot of implications that can come into this match. Hiromu Takahashi beating El Fantasmo and going on to reclaim his title, seeing as how he's gotten, a big amount of the spotlight ever since, LIJ kind of broke up with Evil breaking up against Naito, and, Hiromu Takahashi challenging for the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. El Fantasmo, as we know, if you guys saw the Super J Cup, went absolutely nuts after he won. Breaking down the trophy, tarnishing the jacket and mentioning, he's coming to Japan to take the title, which would also lead to the implication he's challenging his stablemate, Taiji Ishimori, for the championship, since they're both in Bullet Club. It's going to be a good match. Guaranteed to be a very good match. El Fantasmo is probably going to be a little bit rusty, but I think he's going to deliver on when it comes to against Hiromu Takahashi, who has brought up pretty much the best of everyone that he's faced during, if you guys have seen the Best of Super Juniors. If you wanted to pick a winner for this case, It will be a little tough to call because we've seen Hiromu Takahashi gotten so much of the spotlight. Meanwhile, El Phantasmo has been on so much of a tear. For that, you would want to naturally lean towards El Phantasmo, but because of the stable war, you kind of don't want to see them face off against each other yet. So I would most likely lean towards Hiromu Takahashi, who's been, for the most part, pretty much been seen as the junior ace, to go against Taiji on night 2, which I would see El Phantasmo, later on down the line chasing for that title. So I wouldn't discount him yet, but I would say this is going to be a match that you don't want to miss, especially for an opening match. This is going to be a banger. So definitely something you're going to want to watch. I know that El Phantasmo right now is confirmed to be in Japan. He was quarantined during the Wrestle Kingdom 15 press conference, so we know he's there. It's just a matter of how the match is going to go. And I think it's going to be something that's going to greatly open up, the show. That's going to take us to match 2 on night 1. Dangerous Tekkers, the champions, IWGP Tag Team Champions, against Gorillas of Destiny, the World Tag League 2020 winners. Tama Tonga and Tangaloa back in New Japan Wrestling in Japan after the COVID pandemic kind of stopped them from going over. In the meantime, Dangerous Tekkers, as a result of that absence, has really stepped up as the tag team aces in the tag team division and really took over as the top dogs, winning feuds against, the teams of Hiroshi, Tanahashi, and Kota Ibushi. Dominant showing in the tag league, per se. And they've been very featured lately. As we all know, Gorillas of Destiny, very, very dominant team in itself in, the past 5 years, if you can. They've gotten about 6 reigns with the IWGP Tag Team Championships. So you know that this match is going to be a very hard-hitting match. Both men looking to establish or reestablish their status as the top dogs in the tag team division. It would be pretty interesting to see if Dangerous Tekkers are going to retain their titles in this case, seeing as how they've been so dominant on top and they've been doing an amazing job in the tag division. But Gorillas of Destiny have been they're just so dominant as a team in and of itself that it kind of seems hard to see against them winning, especially when it came to the World Tag League. They just straight up ripped up the tournament. They went wild. It would be for that I would probably see Gorillas of Destiny taking over the tag team championships. But again, it also lends itself to the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic kind of puts things a little bit in the wild card, if you will. Now saying I'm still yet to recover from seeing Tama Tonga's short hair and no beard for the first time. Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird look when you compare it to the actual long hair and long beard look. It'd be like if I shaved my beard and cut my hair. I don't think anybody wants to see that. Martin, I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm sorry for not missing this comment, but Tough Coffer was winning, but I think I'm leaning towards Phantasmo. It's going to be an amazing match. Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think it's going to be an amazing match. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with that one. When it comes to this match in particular, with the tag team match, it's going to be a hard-hitting match. I would want to naturally lean for GOD to take the belts, but because of what's going on with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's kind of hard to see who's if they're going to carry it. So it's for that reason alone that I think Dangerous Tekkers are probably going to take the belt, and it may lend itself to see that GOD may come back down the line to re-challenge for the titles. But I wouldn't discount this as I wouldn't discount it if GOD took the belts in this match itself. It would probably mean that they're going to be able to show up more frequently for New Japan Pro Wrestling. If not, they're probably going to be relegated to New Japan of America for now. So it's a little bit of an oddball situation, if you will. Martin saying, if you could see Takahashi and Phantasmo ending in a draw, so it would be a triple threat. I don't necessarily think so, but I'm not going to disqualify it. The reason being is because New Japan is very, very keen on having finality to their matches. So matches where you would assume that would be a draw, they're very rare, far and few in between. I mean, the one match you saw with Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada for the title, which ended in a draw. That was a really rare 60-minute draw that you probably won't see for a long, long time. I wouldn't disqualify it, but I wouldn't put much stock into it, to be honest, because I don't think they're going to be willing to pull another draw out this soon, if you will. But it would be pretty awesome to see a triple threat. That is going to take us to our third match. KENTA, aka Lil K himself, versus Satoshi Kojima with the IWGP United States Championship challenge case on the line in this one. KENTA's fifth defense right now with this briefcase. It's a little interesting. So as we all know, Jon Moxley right now is in AEW, the current IWGP United States champion. He is not. They haven't decided. New Japan hasn't decided to vacate this belt. They put out an actual press conference that clarified the whole situation way back when, mentioning because of this COVID-19 pandemic, they're not stripping the belts. Meanwhile, every other belt that has been stripped has either been because of an injury or because of storyline purposes, namely the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team titles, which was stripped because Yo got injured from Roppongi 3K, and the six-man titles were stripped because Evil defected from LIJ to the Bullet Club. So there were actual storyline reasons. But for this one, Moxley was never scheduled to defend the IWGP United States Championship. So as a result, he has not been stripped because his matches have never been scheduled. But that being said, in response to this, New Japan has held a New Japan Cup USA, which was designed to crown a number one contender for that United States Championship match. In the meantime, as a result, similar to how the G1 briefcase was defended, KENTA has been defending that briefcase conversely against numerous up-and-comers and contenders who challenged him for that briefcase. Now, as Christian says, it's crazy to think this title was second to Main 3 years ago. I know, right? It's been crazy. And I don't think it's necessarily New Japan's fault. More so, it's the fact that they have to book around a pandemic that kind of compromised their card pretty badly, to be honest. There was a lot that was going on. For example, the double gold titles, the IWGP Heavyweight and the Intercontinental Championships, which were compromised as a result of what should have had the card split by now. Unfortunately, they haven't been split, and that's a little. It's unfortunate to say the least. Now, for this match, KENTA has been defending that briefcase while challenging, or kind of goading Jon Moxley, as he calls him, Jon Mock, to challenge him as a result. But Moxley, as we know, he hasn't been available because of the AEW commitments, the COVID-19 pandemic, the recent revelation that Renee is pregnant, his wife. Congratulations on that pregnancy, by the way, Renee. But yeah, there's a lot that's compromised the United States title scene. As a result, KENTA has defended that briefcase, but it's given him a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, so to speak, right now. As a result, meaning that he is not he's not able to, redeem his title shot, and it's gotten him a little bit angry, if you will. Now, I would be remiss to say that he hasn't been able to. He was supposed to defend his briefcase against Juice Robinson originally, and that was set up for this match. However, Juice Robinson ended up suffering an orbital injury in real life, and as a result of that, he is taken out of the card. So Satoshi Kojima instead was put in. This is his first singles match in quite a while. I mean, I know he faced against Desperado in a KOPW match, but this match in and of itself is him having another bit of a comeback for a little while. And I'm sure Kojima can still go. So I know this match isn't going to disappoint whatsoever. But there's also the fact that these two wrestlers, KENTA and Kojima themselves, they're kind of the defining wrestlers of 2000s, early 2000s Puroresu. So you rarely ever saw them face each other. And they've never really met, when they've wrestled singles. They've never really wrestled in singles competition. So this, in a sense, could be a little bit of a dream match of sorts. It's not going to be as good as it used to be way back when, but this is a little bit of a dream match. I would see Kenta holding on to this and winning because Satoshi Kojima was a little bit of a late replacement, and that inevitable showdown with Jon Moxley is going to be coming at some point very, very soon. I know the rumors have been circulating like wildfire that Moxley may have gone to Japan already, and he's been quarantining in preparation for that U.S. title match. But according to like numerous sources, like now Tony Khan has said that he's not showing up at Wrestle Kingdom, and they've been promoting for AEW's New Year's Smash Night 1 the in-person return of Jon Moxley. So I'm not exactly sure if that means he's going to be coming back or if all of this is a ruse and he's really in Japan right now. But I wouldn't put too much stock into it right now. That being said, anything can change. So maybe he's in Japan right now. Maybe he's been quarantining this whole time. Who's to say, you know? Martin saying, with Mox not been shown at AEW since losing to Kenny, it would not surprise me. New Japan is probably keeping this a secret if Mox is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom. It's very possible. Like I said, there's a lot of factors that would kind of point as to him not being there, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was really a ruse and he's really there just to do those matches, maybe to just drop the title and go back so he can focus on, his family at home and, working with AEW is a little bit more closer. So it's hard to say, if he does show up, most likely it's probably going to be to drop that US title, in which case you could probably see Kenta taking that belt because he's a little bit more, he's more able to, be at New Japan as opposed to Moxley. That's going to take us to our next match. Match number 4, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus the Great O-Khan. Now, this match kind of started up as a result of the World Tag League, if you will. Tanahashi, once again, getting assaulted on his legs because, his opponents just love to drag and screw his legs every time. This is what set up that match. So this match on paper itself, obviously it doesn't seem like a really big match. It's just a singles match with Hiroshi Tanahashi versus O-Khan. But there's a little bit more in this match than meets the eye. And the reason why I say that is because the story in and of itself, on one end of the spectrum, actually spans back a couple of years, if you will. The past couple of years, in Tanahashi's sake, we all have seen that, he has been on a little bit of a decline and he himself is kind of trying to fight that idea that he is past his prime and he's not the ace that he once was. Random IWGP Heavyweight Championship win aside against Kenny Omega. The G1 climax, he's had really, really bad showings where I think he managed 8 points or something like that. He lost his first non-title Tokyo Dome match in about a decade, if you will, to Chris Jericho. He never really, he hadn't really lost at the Tokyo Dome, especially in non-titles. And throughout the whole time he was teaming with Kota Ibushi, he was always portrayed by Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. that Tanahashi was holding him back. And it was showcased even more when Kota Ibushi went on to win the G1 Climax this year. So Tanahashi had always been on the decline. And in this position, right now, he's facing the Great O-Khan in a match that, kind of eerily seems similar to the time that Jay White, if those of you remember when he debuted, showed up to challenge Tanahashi and basically told Tanahashi, I'm going to take your spot. This is kind of the same position. Tanahashi finds himself facing a man that, he just came back from excursion, Tomoyuki Oka, if you will. Came back from excursion and came back to aid Will Ospreay and form the Empire, the brand new faction in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which hasn't, it's the first faction in 5 years, roughly. Okan seems to have the future bright ahead of him, if you will. And for him, winning this match against Tanahashi would really solidify him as a very violent, dominant force, which the Empire needs right now because they're still in the establishing phase, especially with Ospreay, who's later facing on Okada later on in this very same card. For Okan to win this would really put a dominant stamp on the Empire's presence in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Conversely, Tanahashi needs this win because he needs to prove to himself that he hasn't been passed by. Basically, that he hasn't declined to the point where he's no different than, say, Togi Makabe or Hiroshi Tenzan, which, both of those aren't bad, by any means. They're still very, very viable contenders and, wrestlers, but their status in the card is declining. And for a man like Tanahashi, who bought New Japan from the Dark Ages up until where it is now, to see all these stars kind of pass him by definitely hurts the ego a little bit. So this is something that he needs to win. And Okan himself needs to win for the sake of the Empire. Now, as to how the match is going to go, the one thing we're going to want to focus on is the fact that Tanahashi's left leg was compromised as a result of the World Tag League, and it was kind of compounded on even more during the Road to Tokyo Dome shows as well. So, that being said, as to who's going to win a match, it's tough. I'm most likely going to lean towards Great Okan because Okan needs to win more to kind of establish himself, similar to how Jay White, needed the win, but Tanahashi managed to beat him, and he was able to come back. And, as we know, the Switchblade right now, challenging for the double titles. But Okan needs this win for the Empire. And I think we're going to see that happen where Tanahashi's decline starts to go down even further, which may ultimately, it reflects real life where Tanahashi is not exactly the wrestler that he was years ago, unfortunately. Sorry, but it's true. So yeah, I would pick Great Okan for this match. I wouldn't be surprised for a Tanahashi win, but Great Okan seems like the more logical choice for this case. And that's my thought on that. That's going to take us to the next match, which I mentioned before. Okada versus Will Ospreay. Now, this match, I would argue to say probably has the most story out of all the matches so far. And you're going to look at me and you're going to think, oh, but this match just kind of formulated, earlier this year. Ospreay just started the Empire earlier this year off G1 Climax. But this goes back a little bit deeper, and you'll see it in the interviews between Ospreay and the press conferences and stuff. This kind of started back, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago, roughly, where Okada was in Rev Pro, and he got to face a rising star in Will Ospreay, someone who was just starting to climb but wasn't quite there yet, trying to develop himself. He got to face Will Ospreay then. And Okada at that point was so impressed that he vouched for Will Ospreay to come to New Japan. He wanted him to come to New Japan, and he put him immediately in the Chaos faction with himself. So because of that, you had a little bit of a big brother, little brother thing where Okada just tried to start molding and developing and growing Ospreay into being what he is today. And Okada, as we all know from there on, went on to become basically the ace, the dominant, indisputable ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling, winning that historic IWGP Heavyweight Championship reign. And Ospreay himself, rising up the ranks, becoming the Junior Heavyweight Champion on multiple occasions, even the Rev Pro Heavyweight Champion as well. And he started to climb up the ranks, especially when he started to break out of the junior heavyweight scale and go into the heavyweight division itself. But there were multiple times where they faced each other, Okada and Ospreay, namely the anniversary show way back when in, I think, 2018, roughly, where they faced each other because Ospreay was the junior heavyweight champion, Okada was the heavyweight champion. They faced each other, and Okada, every time they faced each other, Okada had always beaten Ospreay. That was the big sticking point throughout the entire feud. Okada always managed to beat Ospreay. Ospreay was never able to get that one up on him. So, as Christian mentioned, Ospreay is garbage. He is not a fan of Ospreay. I know. So Ospreay always saw himself as hitting the glass ceiling, but never exactly breaking through that ceiling because he always felt that Kazuchika Okada was holding him back as a result. So, Ospreay kind of had that idea to be the man. You've obviously got to beat the man, right? And that's where the G1 climax kind of came in. And that's where the whole story where the breakup starts to happen. Ospreay coming back from, not being able to travel to Japan at the time. He comes back and he sees that he's in the same block as Okada, which is where this plan kind of starts to hatch. Now, the match happens between Okada and Ospreay, and you think to yourself, okay, this is probably going to be another case where Okada's probably going to dominate Ospreay and then move on. But things kind of start to change because during that match, you saw B. Priestley suddenly come out. And that suddenly started to change things a little bit because we all know Priestley is Ospreay's girlfriend. And once Okada managed to kind of start to wrap things up for the match, then Priestley starts to interrupt. And because Priestley interrupts, suddenly, Ospreay uses the advantage that happens from the debuting Great Okan that drops Okada. Ospreay uses that advantage to win the match. And because he goes on to win the match, post-match, he starts beating down Okada and breaking away from Chaos. And thus, the Empire was born. Now, because of that, we have this match where Ospreay needs this win because he needs to establish that he is the Commonwealth Kingpin, the man that, he broke away from the shadow of Okada. He needs to climb above Okada. Meanwhile, Okada has taken this loss personal because he always saw Ospreay as the little brother in the relationship, someone that he wanted to mold to be a success. And he felt this as a brotherly betrayal. So that's where this kind of has a little bit of a storyline element to it because there's a lot of emotional investment that ties back to multiple different tangents way back when. So not a lot of people are going to mention that, but that's where the big emotional gripe comes in because that's what Okada saw Ospreay as. Meanwhile, Ospreay saw Okada as someone that always held him back, no matter how much he succeeded, if you will. As to how this match is going to go, Okada has promised, and he's made it very clear that he wants this match to be the match that stands out and busts the Wrestle Kingdom card from the get-go. He wants this to be the measuring stick match for the entire night. Ospreay, he's bringing in the emotional investment. He needs this win for himself in order to be able to surpass Okada, like I said. So, how's the match going to go? The two superstars themselves, they actually stylistically measure up really well. So there is no fault, if you will. And Okada has been very well known to adapt to the style of his opponent whenever he's facing along. So I would predict that it's going to have a little bit of a slow start that's going to escalate very, very rapidly quickly. I would probably expect a little bit of interference coming in from B. Priestley, who's most likely going to be ringside. I don't expect the Great Okan to be in that ring because he's going to be facing Tanahashi the match before. So I don't expect Okan to be present, but I do expect Priestley to be a factor, sort of like the Dick Togo to Evil, if you will. As to who's going to win this match, hard to say because I know I've said that for like this entire card so far. The only reason why I say hard to say because there's justification for both sides winning. Okada hasn't been in the title scene since the year begun, ever since he lost the title. As a matter of fact, he formed KOPW because he wasn't chasing the title, and he was bored, and he wanted a new title. So if Okada is going to win this match, it means he's going to be chasing after the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. He doesn't really want both titles, he just wants one. So as long as the double titles are together, I don't think he's going to be chasing as of now. Conversely, Ospreay needs this because he needs to establish the Empire as one of the dominant factions that is going to lead New Japan into the future. And it's for that reason alone. I know Christian hates it, but I'm going to say it. I think Ospreay's going to win this one specifically for that reason, because he wants to stand out as as that guy, the big guy that's gonna chase after the titles. And I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to attack the double champion by the end of night one, or even night two, if you will, to establish himself as someone that's going to be chasing those titles. Most likely, you probably will see him chasing for the double titles leading up to the New Beginning. But I would hold that off until New Year's Dash, where they start that program. I see Martin agrees with me. Ospreay has to win. You want to build up Ospreay, and this is the perfect way to build him. Absolutely. I agree with you. This Ospreay kind of needs this one a little bit more than Okada, because we already know how great Okada is. Okada is like the measuring stick for the wrestling industry. I know some people are going to probably persecute me for saying that, but it's true. Like, you can't name a bad Okada match. You just can't. But that's going to bring us to the big main event match for night one, and something that it's got some story to it, but it to me personally, and this is a personal opinion, this doesn't reflect how the actual buildup has happened. I feel like it kind of fell a little flat towards the end of it, but it's still going to be a promising match nonetheless. So, Tetsuya Naito, the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Double Champion, versus Kota Ibushi, the winner of G1 Climax 30, this year's G1 Climax. Storyline time. About 2 years ago, Kota Ibushi won the G1 Climax, and he was ready to finally claim the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Something that he was chasing almost his entire career ever since he transitioned over to heavyweight. And he always saw it to be his destiny, especially after his former Golden Lover tag team partner, Kenny Omega, won it. It seemed like it was in the cards for him to win it, right? Wrong. What happened was Ibushi got involved in what was known famously in New Japan Pro Wrestling as the Double Gold Dash for especially last year's Wrestle Kingdom. Where Kota Ibushi, Tetsuya Naito, Kazuchika Okada, and Jay White were all intertwined in a story where all four were looking to become the first person to win the double titles, the IWGP Heavyweight Championship and the Intercontinental Championship. Now, the matches were set up as such where Kota Ibushi, because he won the G1 Climax, challenged Kazuchika Okada on night one. Meanwhile, Tetsuya Naito and Jay White clashed for the Intercontinental Championship. Now, as we all know, Tetsuya Naito did win the Intercontinental Championship. However, Okada managed to best Kota Ibushi on the first night and retain his heavyweight championship, knocking him out of the Double Gold Dash tournament altogether. As a result, on night two, Tetsuya Naito faced off against Okada to unify the titles and become the double champion, realizing his destino, if you will. Meanwhile, Kota Ibushi ended up facing up against Jay White and lost that match. So conversely, what should have been his biggest shining achievement became his ultimate failure, unfortunately. Now, fast forward a little bit further. After the G1 Climax win, he started to move towards, the tag team scene with Tanahashi, kind of floated around a little bit. But like I mentioned before in the earlier showings with Tanahashi, he was always viewed, Kota Ibushi that is, was always viewed as the one that was the better of the two. And Tanahashi was always viewed as the one that was holding Ibushi back. And that was very prevalent throughout any of the matches. You would see Tanahashi was always laid out on the ringside, or was always the one eating the pins in the match. But Ibushi was always fairly protected when it came to those matches. And it was very much prevalent where in this year's G1 Climax, or rather last year's G1 Climax 2020, right? Ibushi was the one who won the G1 Climax, becoming the first ever back-to-back winner since 2003 or whichever one that Chono won. I don't recall that right off the top of my head. Someone's going to have to correct me on that one. But he became the third man to win back-to-back G1s which is rare, very rare. And it highlighted that Ibushi was chasing towards what he claimed he was chasing towards becoming God. And he has it on the back of his shirt, actually, which is a really nice shirt. You should check out NewJapanShop.com. You might like it. But anyways, that is the goal. So Ibushi has won the G1 Climax the second time. And you would think to yourself, it's almost set. Like this is meant to be. He is going to Wrestle Kingdom this year to challenge for the double champions. Then came a Switchblade problem, where Jay White shows up, being one of the only men to beat Ibushi in the tournament, challenging him for the briefcase at Power Struggle. And then history was made where Kota Ibushi loses the briefcase to Jay White, unfortunately, losing his main event chance at Wrestle Kingdom to Jay White and the briefcase in the process. Meaning Kota Ibushi at this point did not have a guaranteed spot on the Wrestle Kingdom card, which became a bigger problem. Now, fast forward a little bit more. Tetsuya Naito, had his own share with the Bullet Club. Evil betraying him and joining Bullet Club, and then the two of them traded titles before Naito wins it back at Summer Struggle and goes on to hold on the title. Jay White making his intentions known. He is challenging for the double championships on night 2 instead. But he made it a point to goad Naito into defending the championships on night 1, trying to get him to soften himself up in order for Jay White to take the easy pickings, getting the double titles in one shot. Conversely, Tetsuya Naito does kind of take the bait a little bit, but he goes on to challenge Kota Ibushi instead. And part of that happens because Ibushi went on to help Naito against an attack from Jay White. Jay White tried to attack Naito from behind after a match, and then Ibushi comes in to attack White as a result. But Naito gave night 1 shot to Ibushi. So Ibushi does now have this particular match where Naito's facing Ibushi for the double championships. However, because Jay White now holds the briefcase, whoever wins this match goes on to face Jay White for the titles on night 2. So whoever wins this match is going to kind of be a little softened up. And we already know how Naito and Ibushi kind of wrestle each other. And this goes into the analysis of the match itself. Naito and Ibushi have a very stiff style against each other. Stylistically, they go hard against each other, to say the least. Ibushi's probably going to take about 5 million more neck bumps, if you will. The best pairing I could think of would probably be the Madison Square Garden card, where they faced off against each other, where there were a lot of moments where you thought one of these men probably got injured. So it was a very hard hitting, a very never open weight style title match, if you will. So I would want to think, because Ibushi is challenging again for the titles, you really don't want to see him lose again after he's lost so much getting to this stage. However, Naito fans have been, myself included, clamoring for the Dark Ace to finally get his moment and hold these titles. And he's lost it so many times in the process of winning it. He's gotten his big moment finally, holding the titles, given the COVID-19 pandemic kind of compromised it a tiny bit. But he's held this title until he lost it to Evil and then got it back from Summer Struggle in the Jingu Stadium. So, I mean, this, like Martin mentions here, this has Ibushi winning all over it. And I can kind of make a case for Ibushi winning this one because the story is right there. Ibushi has to get revenge against Jay White for costing him what could have been his greatest crowning achievement for this year's Wrestle Kingdom. And as much as it's gonna kill me to say it, I kind of want Ibushi to recognize his destiny here and win the titles here because it's well deserved. I mean, it's been 2 years now in terms of development, almost 2 years, if you will. This has been a story that has been building up since Kenny Omega even won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. It was always a wonder of when Kota Ibushi was going to win the big one. And I think this would be the time to pull the trigger if they really wanted to. However, I am also very well aware the champion almost always retains at Wrestle Kingdom itself. Tanahashi and Omega notwithstanding, that's because Omega was ready to leave the company by that point. But the ace almost always retains at Wrestle Kingdom. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Naito retain here. And I wouldn't be against it either because it gives Ibushi a little bit more of a development time because New Japan is very well known to kind of stretch and squeeze that story to get the most satisfying ending. Naito's story being the most prolific of that. But for my pick, I would say Ibushi because the story is imminently there. Ibushi's challenging for Jay White to get that revenge. But that's going to take care of night 1 for the card. I know it's an hour now, but this night 2 is going to be a little bit more streamlined because a lot of the matches kind of fed into night 1 are feeding into night 2. So this will be a little bit more of an easier read. But night 1, as you saw, has a lot more setup that's dedicated towards night 2. But night 2 has more of the bigger payoff, if you will. So that's why these 2 nights are very, very important towards each other. And that's why you want to make sure you're not going to miss one over the other as well, because there's a lot of payoff that's going to come between those 2 matches. But before we can get into that, there is 2 dark matches that are actually going to show up for this particular card. Now, the thing to note with these particular matches, these matches are not going to be shown on the live feed. I believe they're really only going to be for live viewers because of some TV broadcast rights between Stardom and, I think TV Asahi might own them. I might be wrong on that. Someone fact check me on that one. Aaron, I think you were here. You're the New Japan fact checker. You can verify that for me. But because of some broadcasting rights and issues with contracting, the starter matches, which are the 2 dark matches, are not exactly going to be showing on the live feed for New Japan. But that being said, we still know exactly who's going to be competing in this match. So the first match itself is going to be Queen's Quest, Saya Kamitani, Azum, and Utami Hayashita versus Donna Del Mondo, consisting of Maika, Natsupoi, and Himeka. Now, I know not a lot of people are very familiar with Stardom in and of itself. I'll tell you this much: Queen's Quest, when they first started, was the dominant faction, consisting of what you would know as the 3 of Mayu Iwatani, Yoshirai, and Kairi Hojo, aka Kairi Sane today. Donna Del Mondo, conversely, as of right now, is the dominant faction. Despite the fact that Utami currently holds the red belt in Stardom, which is basically the main belt in Stardom, Donna Del Mondo is probably the most broken faction right now in Stardom today. Maika, Natsupoi, and Himeka. I believe Natsupoi just recently started, jumping over from TJPW or Ice Ribbon, one of the 2. But Donna Del Mondo, it's very hard in this case to see when who's going to actually take the loss here. And spoilers alert, Donna Del Mondo I think is going to win this one because this is clearly a showcase match for all of them. But Utami, like I mentioned before, Utami is the red belt champion. She's looking to show her dominance in this match, and Saya and Azum are probably going to follow suit. Azum's still pretty young as of right now, and I know they're not really pulling the trigger on her. More in favor towards Starlight Kid for this case. But I mean, I can't see Donna Del Mondo losing this match, to be honest. And I know we're not really going to see this match, but if you've watched Stardom, you're kind of familiar as to who they are and how the stories kind of intertwine a little bit. So for that reason alone, I'm going to say Donna Del Mondo is taking this one. And I think at some point, Utami is going to defend that red belt against someone from Donna Del Mondo. I don't know exactly who. I don't think it's going to be Julia, the leader, to be honest, because Julia is currently the white belt champion. But stranger things have happened, Martin, I see your comment. What time does the main show start? Her 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.? Hold that question until the end. I'm going to go through the card and I'm going to go through the time zones. So everyone's going to be aware of when it starts. Also, to make things a little easier, I'm going to schedule the start of our live coverage show directly when Wrestle Kingdom starts. So your best bet is probably to tune in when we have our show scheduled, because that's when the show we're going to run it concurrently. As soon as that live show starts, we're started. That's going to take us to the second dark match, Mayu Iwatani and Tam Nakano versus Donna Del Mondo's second faction of Siri and Julia. This match has a little bit more of a story to it, but not exactly in the way you would think. As we all know, Tam Nakano is going to be starting her own faction soon, the Cosmic Angels, which formed with Mina Shirakawa and Unagi Sayaka. Now, Cosmic Angels is a part of the Stars faction that Mayu Iwatani leads. However, Donna Del Mondo, like I mentioned, the more dominant faction between the two. Julia, probably what's going to be bred as the ace of Stardom, for lack of a better term. She's just so talented. Like, if you've never heard of her before, do yourself a favor, seek out a couple of her matches, and I probably won't be there when your jaw drops to pick it back up because, social distancing and stuff, but your jaw is going to drop when you watch Julia's matches. She is so good. But in this match in and of itself, there's a little bit of a story going because Tam Nakano has declared that, that Iwatani announced that Cosmic Angels, Tom's group, is leaving Stars, which confused Tom, or it might be the other way around, where Tom announced it and Iwatani's confused. But what's happening is that Cosmic Angels is supposedly splitting from Stars to become their own faction, and none of it has really been confirmed within the Stars group, which is the result of Iwatani and Tam Nakano teaming up right now to face Donna Del Mondo. There's probably going to be a little bit of apprehension throughout the match because the whole gist of it is Tom's leaving to start her own faction. And it's because of that little dissension in the group right there that I think Donna Del Mondo is probably going to take this match. But analytically speaking, all four of these women are probably going to tear the house down, or at least for the Dark Show perspective, because Mayu Iwatani was the former Red Belt champion, and Tam Nakano is probably one of the best wrestlers you could probably see today, on top of, being an early deathmatch wrestler. But that's besides the point. And, Siri and Julia really, really trained wrestlers. Julia, like I said, one of the best wrestlers out there today. It's a shame that we're not able to see this match, but if you can get a live feed of this, or if anyone from our audience here is able to see that live, please let us know how that goes, because that's a match that I would have been looking forward to seeing somewhere down the line. I mean, Nakano and Julia also challenged Nakano challenged Julia for the white belt at some point twice, and those matches were barn burners, to say the least. You could probably see that on the Stardom subscription network, if you will. But that being said, that's going to take us out of the dark matches. Like I said, we're not able to see those dark matches, but if anyone has a live feed or is able to kind of, give us the results of how that match is, be sure to send it to us, and we'll keep the audience updated as much as we can. But match one officially for night 2. I have them listed right now as X's, and this is the provisional KOPW 2021 trophy match. The reason why we're listed as X's is because, as I mentioned, whoever wins, the last 4 who win the New Japan Rumble from night 1 are going to be put in this match. So we don't exactly have a way to put anyone in this match or even make an accurate prediction, because we don't even know who's in the New Japan Rumble to accurately make a prediction for. So you gotta imagine in this case that Yano Toru is probably going to be in this match. And this is just me, hypothesizing. This isn't an official confirmation by any stretch of the imagination. You gotta see Yano Toru probably being involved in this match. I would imagine Bad Luck Fale is probably going to be involved. He was the last person to challenge Yano Toru in the Body Slam or the Turnbuckle Corner ripoff match. I would personally love to see Minoru Suzuki involved in this match, just to see the shenanigans that's going to happen as a result of this. And the fourth person, if I really wanted to take a guess, put Sho in here, because Sho has been on a tear, and I feel he deserves to have a spot on the New Japan Wrestle Kingdom card. It's kind of a shame that he isn't actually on the card, if you will, but I feel like this would be his chance to shine. And I wouldn't be against having him be the KOPW Provisional 2021 champion. You know, it would give him more of a chance to shine, you know? But that being said, I can't give you an accurate prediction or an analysis on this match because I don't even know who's going to be in it. So for now, we're going to leave this in an exposition. But keep an eye out on this one because this is probably going to be a little bit of a fun opener, if you will. But that takes us to night 2, match 2, which is the junior tag team heavyweight tag team championship match with Suzuki-gun's members Despi and Yoshinobu Kanemaru versus Team 1 or 8. Now, this one's a little bit of a weird match, if you will. 1 or 8, since Master Wato returned from the summer, he's basically been feuding with Suzuki-gun since he came back, way to the Grandmaster and all that. Woo. He's a blue Smurf as far as I'm concerned. But anyways, basically Wato has been going against Suzuki-gun since he's returned, starting with Doki and kind of working his way towards, Despi and Kanemaru. In the process of it, he's made friends with a lot of the New Japan dads, if you will. I call them the New Japan dads because they're just basically everyone that starts off from the top, like, Togi Makabe and Hiroshi Tenzan and Ryusuke Taguchi, the coaches, if you will. And they always team up with, like, the young guns or the young lions, if you will, to, kind of teach them the ropes, so to speak. In this case, I guess Wato feels like he's still New Japan boy because he teams up with the New Japan dads quite a bit. In this case, he's formed an alliance with Taguchi, calling themselves 1 or 8. I don't know exactly why they call themselves 1 or 8. I'm going to have to re-review that. I'm guessing because 8 looks like Ryusuke Taguchi's funky weapon, if you will. But this seems to be destined, if you will, for Wato to kind of take the throne because he's been feuding with Suzuki-gun all this time. He needs to get that one up on them. So it seems to be a way to get the titles off Despi and Kanemaru into Wato's hands on his way to the Grand Master. Oh man, those promos were really stupid. I'm telling you, they were just dumb. but I digress. So I mean, we already know Desperado has been on fire lately, especially when it comes to the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. If you guys saw that star-making performance against Takahashi in the finals. It was the finals, right? Yeah, it was the finals where, he had his mask basically torn up and he took his mask off and they just went at it like leather to leather, if you will. But I would like to think this is the chance for them to take the titles off Suzuki-gun's members in order to have Despi focus on the junior heavyweight title picture, because I want to see Desperado hold that IWGP junior heavyweight title down the line. I think he deserves it. And I mean, I know Kanemaru is probably going to be somewhere in the mix for the KOPW, if you will, or, put him in the never openweight title match scene. I kind of would prefer the KOPW scene, to be honest. But Despi needs to get out of the tag team title picture and graduate to the junior heavyweight title picture. So for that reason alone, I'm going to say Team 1 or 8 is probably going to win this one. But I don't hold my hopes up that far off because, like I said before, New Japan seems to have the habit of stretching the storylines, if you will, so to speak. That is going to take us to our next match. That's night 2, match 3, Shingo Takagi versus Jeff Cobb, the never openweight championship match. Now, this one, a little bit more of a story than anticipated, but not really. Jeff Cobb, as we know, the newest member of the Empire, so to speak, showed up in the World Tag League out of nowhere. I don't think he was just announced as X as first, and suddenly he became the newest member, and now they have a powerhouse team between Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb, which really puts the Empire on a higher showing because of the fact that Ospreay basically has two powerhouses in his back pocket. And Jeff Cobb looks to establish his dominance even further by going after the dragon, Shingo Takagi, if you will. At the time during the G1 Climax tournament, Shingo Takagi was not the never openweight champion, but Jeff Cobb did manage to beat him at the time. And as a result of that kind of lends itself into the fact that Jeff Cobb can challenge Shingo Takagi for the never openweight championships because he's probably the last one who has a very notable pinfall against Shingo. Now, for Shingo, I mean, as we've seen throughout his title contention, or his title reign, if you will, he's held and defended that title in some banger matches, most notably against Minoru Suzuki, if you will. Show also kind of had a little bit of a growing period as a result of that. Meanwhile, Cobb, conversely, has become a lot more dangerous since holding that title, or rather since joining Empire, en route to wanting to hold that title. So for that reason alone, I kind of see that, analytically speaking, Cobb holds more of the power advantage against Shingo, which to Shingo Takagi in and of itself is a little rare because you always see Shingo as the powerhouse wrestler in their matches, but you never see Shingo on the disadvantage when it comes to strength. So what that means is that Shingo is going to need to resort to something that's very undervalued in a lot of his matches, and that's his speed. Speed is what's going to be needed against Jeff Cobb in order to kind of overtake him a little bit, but the problem is Jeff Cobb is also very fast as well. And Cobb knows what it takes to beat Shingo Takagi because he managed to beat him in the G1 Climax. That being said, how that fares for the Never Openweight Championship match, I think this is probably going to result in Shingo losing the belt to Jeff Cobb because Shingo has proven he's taken that belt to lengths unknown since holding it, and very definitively too, I might add. So for that reason, I'm going to go with Jeff Cobb for this one. I wouldn't expect this to be anything less of two men smacking each other like baseballs to baseball bats, but Jeff Cobb seems to be the logical choice here, only because I expect the Empire, like I said, to start building themselves up as a very dominant faction. And what better way to do that than to hold the belt that symbolizes that you are one of the hardest hitting members in the faction in and of itself. But that is going to take us to our next match, and I think this would probably be very close in the most storyline driven match if it wasn't kind of compromised by the fact that it just kind of started. And that's going to be Evil versus Sanada. Now, you would think on paper, this match probably has the most storyline elements to it because of the fact that these two men teamed up with each other the most throughout the years, especially when it came to LIJ. You always saw Sanada and Evil teamed up with each other every time, and it showed because there was a very obvious sense of chemistry between the two, and it was symbolized when they won multiple tag team championships together as a result of it. Now, obviously, as we've discussed, LIJ kind of realized that little betrayal with Evil when he won the New Japan Cup, but Evil betrayed LIJ by, everything is evil to Tetsuya Naito, resulting in him joining up with the Bullet Club as a result. Now, the thing to kind of note, and I know it's kind of symbolic of Sanada and his whole personality, but it really didn't work out here, is that Sanada kind of kept his composure. He didn't exactly get involved in the feud against Evil, more so like Naito and Takahashi did. Meanwhile, Sanada kind of focused on himself, blew off the whole thing, if you will. And, whenever it came to needing, when Naito and Takahashi needed the runoff interference to, when Dick Togo got involved in Evil's matches, you never really saw him get involved. Instead, what he did, Sanada started focusing a little bit more on the G1. And from there, it kind of worked in a sense because Sanada's whole thing was keep a cool composure, and then that's where you get the best Sanada matches. which resulted in him almost winning the G1 because he, was in the finals against Kota Ibushi. Just so happens Ibushi is kind of God right now, so you can't really do anything about it. But after that, that's when you kind of saw, when power struggle happened with Evil and Naito going against each other again. You saw the chaos that kind of, pardon the pun, you saw the chaos that kind of unfurled with all the interference that happened, and that right there is when you saw Sanada could not take anymore, and now he finally shows up to kind of combat Evil, and that's where you see the emotional buildup finally starts to, explode. Sanada no longer being able to keep his composure, and as a result, we have this match. Now, Sanada has kind of positioned this match, if you will, in a couple of press conferences, that it could be looked at as a number one contenders match. So if you saw whoever wins this match, you can kind of view as facing for the double titles, maybe at New Beginning, if you will. I kind of don't see it, only because Evil just recently challenged for the titles at Power Struggle number 1. But number 2, I feel like there's a lot more mileage to go with the double title programming, especially with Kota Ibushi, Jay White, and Tetsuya Naito, that they may not be done with that altogether. I wouldn't be against it, but I wouldn't expect it to be a number one contender or a title eliminator, if you will. But that being said, with this particular match, the analytical aspect, if you will, kind of focuses on 2 factors. One, how heated is this match going to be as a result of the fact that there's a lot of tension in this match because of the storyline element that leads up to this match. And number 2, can Sanada keep his composure? Given everything that has happened with his LIJ brethren, can Sanada hold his composure enough in order to win the match? Because historically speaking, when Sanada loses his composure, that's where he makes the most mistakes. And when he makes the most mistakes against someone like Evil, who is going to have Dick Togo in his corner and is known to have interference, if you will, on his side, that's where you kind of want to be careful, because that's going to result in a loss for Sanada. And if for someone to position this as a number one contendership match, Sanada can't exactly afford that, especially a very, very dominant showing in the G1 Climax. So for that in and of itself, I want to say Sanada's going to win, but I don't expect this to be a clean match. I expect a lot of interference to happen. I expect literally Dick Togo to get involved. As to if anybody from the Bullet Club is going to get involved, like Yujiro Takahashi, if you will, who's really taken a liking lately to joining with Evil and stuff, that remains to be seen. So for this match in and of itself, I'm going to pick Sanada to win, but I don't expect this to end very, very quickly, if you will. And that is going to take us to, got a little bit of a freeze, our next match, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match between Taiji Ishimori and X. Now, this one, X is basically who was going to win in the first match on night 1 between Hiromu Takahashi and El Phantasmo. Nevertheless, there is a little bit of a story that has brewed in this show. The main focus is not so much on Taiji Ishimori, but more so who is challenging Taiji Ishimori for the Junior Heavyweight Championship match. And then therein lies the story itself. The fact that Taiji Ishimori, even though he is the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, he's been very much overcasted, if you will, by everyone else around him. I mean, Hiromu Takahashi for the Best of Super Juniors, even though Taiji Ishimori was in the tournament, Takahashi main evented all the shows. Meanwhile, El Phantasmo has the world talking about him as a result of his not only Super J Cup back-to-back winning, but the fact that he's pretty much desecrated the championship, desecrated the jacket, desecrated the spirit of the Super J Cup en route to coming to Japan now to challenge Hiromu Takahashi, to the point where you see, if you look at this match, you're thinking to yourself, okay, is Takahashi coming to take the title belt back from Taiji Ishimori? Or is El Phantasmo going to face his stablemate instead? And that right there is the problem, or the big chip on Taiji Ishimori's shoulder. So this match, in a sense, is a chance for Taiji Ishimori to kind of prove that he is the best wrestler in the junior division, which he needs, because even though he has beaten Hiromu Takahashi, and he's beaten him twice already, his thunder keeps getting stolen by Takahashi. Now, if you look at El Phantasmo, since El Phantasmo joined the Bullet Club, he's leapfrogged Taiji Ishimori as the more prevalent junior heavyweight wrestler in the Bullet Club, which definitely, it's got to burn him up inside. So you can expect this to be a fast-paced match. You can already expect this to be an exciting match. As to who's going to win the match, I mean, it's hard to say, because as of this match itself, it's always just seemed like Taiji Ishimori was just a title placeholder, someone who kind of just held the belt for, either Takahashi or ELP. I said Takahashi was going to win night one. I would venture to say he might end up winning this whole thing if you put him in this match. there's no way to kind of deny it, If conversely, if you have El Phantasmo facing Taiji Ishimori, I mean, ELP just won back-to-back Super J-Cups. It's kind of hard to see him losing with that much momentum behind him, unless you're going to count the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic kind of retcons the fact that you can't really have him as a reliable champion. Then maybe you would have Taiji Ishimori kind of win against ELP if it does go that route. But if Takahashi is going to win the first match and come into this match against Taiji Ishimori, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't put the title back on Hiromu Takahashi, because he's the one who's been the center focus of the junior heavyweight division. So for that reason alone, I would say Hiromu Takahashi is probably going to win the belt. And I think from there on in, anyone that wants to challenge him, hopefully El Desperado, you would see a champion, a championship challenge happen in the new beginning in February. Maybe even at New Year's Dash. Who knows, But that being said, that's going to take us to our main event of night 2. And this is the big match in and of itself, the payoff from night 1. Whoever wins between Tetsuya Naito and Kota Ibushi is going to have to face Jay White for the IWGP Heavyweight and Intercontinental Double Championship match. Now, this one, like I mentioned before, has a little bit of a storyline driven to it. The fact that Jay White made history being the first man since the G1 Climax briefcase came into play, the first one to take the briefcase from the G1 Climax winner, Kota Ibushi being the one to lose the briefcase for the first time. But Kota Ibushi is also challenging for the main event titles on night 1. Now, the big thing is that even though Jay White kind of weaseled his way into this by holding that briefcase, he's still very much overlooked by Naito and Ibushi, who seem to be more interested in their match with night 1, justifiably so, because Kota Ibushi did win the G1 Climax. So it stands to reason that Naito's kind of focused on him, but that therein lies the problem, because Jay White is always the cunning one, if you will, the one to kind of take advantage of the opportunity when it presents itself and seizes itself. And he has. I mean, he's holding the briefcase. He's now challenging on night 2 for both those titles. He is guaranteed that spot for himself. And for this case, this is a chance for him to kind of kill two birds with one stone, if you will. He can become the double champion in one night. And in the process, there have been, the storyline has kind of weaseled itself in with the fact that the Bullet Club is kind of facing a little bit of a schism as a result, since Evil kind of came into the picture. A lot of people kind of see him as the leader, even though he really isn't. The problem is, if he were to win this match, he would establish himself as the dominant, be-all, end-all, strong leader for the Bullet Club, which is what it really needs right now. Right now, the Bullet Club is facing another civil war, which is something that has been foretold since Kenny Omega was the leader back then. But conversely, if you were to flip it the other side around, Tetsuya Naito and Jay White would always, it would promise to be a very good match. Naito always wants to, not only, ironically enough, deliver for the fans, even though he's really more of a bad guy than a good guy, even though he's really the good guy. But at the same time, Ibushi, if Ibushi were to win the match, you would expect him to be in a little bit more of a little bit more of a revengeful spiritual mindset, because of the fact that Jay White took his opportunity from him, and he is looking to get back revenge for not only losing in the G1, not only losing his briefcase against him, but he doesn't want to lose the titles against Jay White, especially considering that Ibushi's whole destiny, his career up to this point, has led to this moment, him winning and holding the heavyweight and intercontinental championships. Now, what that will mean for either men after they win remains to be seen. I think that this story in and of itself is probably not over for Wrestle Kingdom. I think it's going to stretch out a little bit more, but it's a little bit wonky to say. I mean, it really, on paper, you kind of have it that Ibushi's going to win. It seems written, foretold, if you will, that Ibushi is going to win and become God, if you will. But at the same time, Jay White needs this in order to kind of further the Bullet Club storyline. And, I mean, Naito, yeah, he had his moment, and as much as I would want Naito to hold it to kind of continue the momentum of LIJ and everything, LIJ is really the premier faction as it is right now. They've gotten the most airtime. They've gotten the most storyline-driven elements. And, I mean, we've seen, they've dominated the storylines for the summer, if you will, with Takahashi and Evil, Naito and Evil, Sonata and Evil now. So, in a sense, I don't necessarily see Naito walking out with the titles here, as much as it pains me to say that. But Ibushi seems destined to win this one. It just makes the most sense to me. But then again, there's a reason why Geto is the booker, and there's a reason why New Japan has been the top premier, promotion of all time, if you will. So I am not going to question it, but I would hope to want to understand it. And, that's my pick for it. So that is my predictions for Wrestle Kingdom, nights 1 and 2. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything else I could explain for you guys in the end. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves throughout this entire watch through. I know this is our return episode. I will promise you guys we are back. We're going to be here a lot more consistent going forward. Like I said before, our first big show coming back is going to be Wrestle Kingdom, nights 1 and 2. Now, I promised you guys that I was going to give you guys the scheduling for the show. So, if you are in the Eastern time zone, I believe, Wrestle Kingdom 15, Pacific time zone, I think it's, let's see, I have it here. There we go. Pacific time zone, January 3rd, 11 p.m. If you are in Eastern time zone, it is 2 a.m. for night 1. And if you are in the GMT time zone, I think that's Green Mountain time zone. I might be off on that one. Don't count me on that one. But GMT, it's 7 a.m. If you are going for Wrestle Kingdom Night 2, Pacific time zone, 12 a.m. Eastern time zone, 3 a.m. And GMT is going to be 8 a.m. For New Year's Dash, Pacific time zone, 1:30 a.m. This is January 6th, by the way. If you're in Eastern time zone, it's 4:30 a.m. And GMT is 9:30 a.m. Now, like I said before, we are coordinating our show to start when Wrestle Kingdom starts, which I'm probably going to put up within the next hour or so. So if you want, you could wait for about an hour or so when I organize everything on our end, because there's a lot to catch up on that we kind of missed. That's going to coordinate when Wrestle Kingdom starts. So our show is going to start directly when Wrestle Kingdom starts. We might even have like a 30-minute waiting period to kind of catch up and refresh. So I might start the show 30 minutes before Wrestle Kingdom. But when you see that notification and you see that time frame for when Respect the Ring starts for our show, that's generally when Wrestle Kingdom is going to start. So you can coordinate based on our show, and that'll be when Wrestle Kingdom starts for you guys, just to make things a little bit easier for you guys. But we are going to be covering Wrestle Kingdom both nights 1 and 2. We are back for Raw, SmackDown, Shockwave, Impact, all that stuff. And we are also going to be covering New Year's Dash as well as AEW, MLW, NXT. So we've got a bit of a banger for the next 4 days, if you will. So if pray for me, No, I'm kidding. I got this. It's been a long time coming, and I've missed doing this. From the bottom of my heart, I've missed not being able to analyze and kind of give my own opinions, if you will, and hearing your feedbacks, if you will. So let me know how I did for this show. I know I might be a little bit rusty, and I do apologize, but let me know how I did. Any feedback and critique is welcome. I noticed this beanie has not portrayed how I am as a wrestling professor whatsoever. I'll fix that at some point. But as for Respect the Ring, just be sure to like, share, subscribe for our Facebook page, for the YouTube page. Make sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so you have a notification of when our shows are going to be on. Make sure to like every video and share every video, because that definitely helps us grow, guys. We need those likes and shares, because with that, I'm going to be able to kind of deliver more content for you guys going forward, for sure. The boys are going to be back for sure, so we want to be able to deliver that content for you guys, but we need those likes, we need those shares, we need those subscribes. So anyone just please feed those likes for us, because we need that more than anything. We need the likes, we need the subscribes. And as for Twitch, also give us a follow as well. If you don't want to watch us on Facebook, you can watch us on YouTube. If you don't want to watch us on YouTube, you can watch us on Twitch. If you don't want to watch us on Twitch, watch us on Facebook. If you don't want to watch us on any of those three, at least feed it to your dog, so at least he can watch. I'm pretty sure he's going to become a wrestling purist by the time we're done. But that being said, thank you so much for joining us back on our return episode of Respect the Ring. I hope you had a blast. I had a blast. But that being said, my name is Andrew Samaroo, the wrestling professor, if you will. And I hope you have a great, great afternoon. Martin saying, is it just going to be you for the New Japan streams? No, I'm going to have some people with me for this one. I promise you that. So if I have bored you this entire show, I apologize. But we're going to have more people for the New Japan streams. I promise you that. As to who's going to be on it, I don't know yet. But stick around. We'll get some people on there. I promise you that. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us for this episode. My name is Andrew Samaroo, and I hope you have a great day. Stay safe out there. If you're going out, wear a mask. If you're not going out for anything, then play video games or read a book or something. I don't know. But yeah, take care, guys.